After reading such a sensational headline, complete with an exclamation mark at the end, any sensible person would raise an eyebrow and bombard me with millions of photos featuring forest landscapes. Believe me, there are no forests in your photos. It's just another trick. We've been made to think it's a forest, but in reality, it's nothing more than 30-meter bushes. That's nonsense, you might say. We've all walked through forests and know what they look like. Well, that's a completely fair and expected reaction. However, after reading this chapter, the title won't seem strange to you anymore because it will completely overturn your perception of forests. And now, let's go through everything step by step. Let's start with a well-known picture in which children see 9 dolphins while adults see 2 lovers. Agree, the difference is huge. Force yourself right now to find the dolphins and see how difficult it is. Female charms will stubbornly refuse to transform into dolphins. Interestingly, for children, the problem will be exactly the opposite. They will struggle with accuracy. Here's the first fact. The image is the same, but we perceive it completely differently. And there's no way for adults and children to exchange their perceptions. Why is that? Because our eyes see what the Matrix commands them to see, not what the world actually looks like. Our eyes have become traitors over time. We were blinded in childhood. The surrounding world is quite different from what we observe through the prism of habit and experience, and that prism distorts it greatly. By the age of 30, this prism becomes the guardian of our minds, and after 40, without it, our sanity may falter. Do you think I'm exaggerating? Do you want me to prove right now how strongly you depend on this prism? Take a look at the photo. I assert that it is a volcanic mountain formed from molten magma that rose from the depths of the earth and solidified approximately 200 million years ago. Do you think I've gone mad? In turn, I can accuse you of the same. Let's come back to this meadow later. For now, let's recall how when walking through the forest, we come across old, thick trees and sometimes even take photos, trying to embrace their unembraceable trunks. Indeed, old trees are rare. They are all registered and protected as natural monuments. Even on the internet, there was some buzz about it. Why are all the forests, even in Siberia, not older than 200 years? Where have the giants gone? And they are right to make a fuss, I must say. However, I want to approach this issue from a different angle, the polar regions of the Earth. The thing is, even Soviet biologists discovered a peculiar phenomenon. An unnatural amount of water in the form of ice and snow is accumulated at the poles, while the waters of the world's oceans contain an unnatural amount of carbon dioxide. Such a crazy concentration undoubtedly proves a global fire in the past. Through simple calculations, scientists have derived a figure that indicates a recent, 2-3 centuries ago, fire that burned 99.995% of the Earth's biosphere. As living cells are mainly composed of water, the snowy caps at the poles are nothing but water released from the burned organisms. In its gaseous state, it migrated to the poles and then condensed as precipitation. And now, think about the number 99.995%. In other words, what currently grows, crawls, flies, swims, and runs on Earth is 20,000 times smaller in volume than it was before the fire. 20,000 times! To visualize this, imagine comparing a loaf of bread to a long-haul truck. That's roughly the volume ratio of 20,000. All our plants, animals, and humans combined are just a pathetic loaf. I hope you now understand that today's myth of overpopulation on Earth is pure chutzpah. But then a snag occurred. Biologists divided this figure by the total area of all continents combined, and it didn't work out. There wasn't enough space on land. The theory started falling apart, but you can't get rid of the snow at the poles. It's a fact, and it needs to be accommodated on land. As always, enlightenment came suddenly. It turned out that the stereotypical thinking was to blame because the familiar forest of 30 meters in height had infected the minds of biologists like a virus and hindered the quick solution to this question. If the plants don't fit horizontally, then they should be placed vertically, and everything fell into place immediately. In the new theory, a hypothetical forest of unimaginable height quickly emerged, and soon there were photographs found like these. These are the barbaric logging of California's sequoias from the 1880s to the 1920s, which miraculously survived after the planetary bombardment of 1816. Just imagine how many years it takes for a tree to grow to such sizes. And then creatures with saws and axes came. 1, 2, and the tree is gone. In the proportions of trees, there is a rule. The diameter of the trunk on average is 1/20th of the tree's height. Let's estimate the height in these photos. The diameter of the trunk is approximately 3 times the height of the lumberjack, which is about 105 meters. Just think about it. You enter a forest whose height is not the usual 30 meters, but 100. Here are the magical forests that are so loved in folk tales and depicted in cartoons. Forests that are irretrievably lost due to such barbarians. I understand that these are just hired workers. They certainly need to feed their families, who were given orders from above. But if every lumberjack refused the criminal order, the forest would remain intact because the reptile's hands are too crooked and short to wield an axe on their own. Take a closer look at the photo. Well, aren't they like decaying microbes finishing off the forest organism? If someone believes that the forest was cleared for timber, then I hasten to dispel your naivety. The thing is, old trees serve as information accumulators, databases, hard drives, to put it in modern terms. Everything that happens on the planet is recorded in their information portal. A person with good senses can simply enter such a forest and easily access any information about the past by touching the tree trunk. And as for the immense power that flows into us through touch, I won't even mention. Sequoia National Park, California, USA. Agreeably, after our 30-meter thickets, imagining the height of a 100-meter forest is problematic. I don't know for what reason, but a few barbarians decided to leave some sequoias alive. They even fenced them off and named it a preserve. Naturally, tour guides spin tales to tourists of how in the dumbass era, herbivores scratched their backs against the bark of California sequoias. Let's summarize. As you can see, remnants of a gigantic forest have been found. Therefore, the theory of colossal forests of the past is proven, and the wayward snow of the poles has taken its place in the mosaic. Seems like that's it. The topic can be closed, but it's not that simple.